She arrived without expectation, which was how she'd learned to survive family gatherings. Expectation created hope, hope created disappointment. Disappointment became a story they'd later turn into a joke. So she showed up with a small smile and a practiced ease, sat where she was told, accepted the water before she asked for it. They'd chosen a restaurant with warm light and wood, paneled walls, the kind that suggested intimacy without actually requiring it. Her mother hugged her a little too hard. Her cousin waved from the far end of the table, already laughing at something she hadn't heard yet. Her uncle, her mother's older brother, stood to greet her with a careful nod. He had always been careful. He worked in compliance now, after years in municipal offices. People like him learned to speak softly and write memos that changed lives. She told herself it would be fine. She reminded herself she could leave whenever she wanted. The cake came out late. Someone had ordered it from a nearby bakery, plain white frosting with blue lettering. They dimmed the lights, clapped, sang just long enough to make the performance feel communal. When the candles were blown out, the server turned the cake so she could read it. Oops, still a disappointment. There was a beat. Then laughter, quick, relieved, collective. It landed like a shared exhale. Her cousin covered her mouth, laughing hardest. Her mother laughed too, high and brittle, already explaining how it was just a joke, how the baker must have misunderstood, how funny misunderstandings could be. She felt something in her chest tighten and then, unexpectedly, loosen. The looseness was what surprised her. She waited for heat, for the familiar rush of wanting to explain herself, defend the years she'd held together with quiet work and unpaid patience. None of it came. She stood. The chair scraped. A few people looked up, confused. She picked up her bag, checked for her phone, folded the napkin and set it on the plate, as if she were leaving a meeting early. "I'm going to head out," she said evenly, not angry, not wounded enough to perform it. Her mother started to protest. Someone reached for her wrist, then thought better of it. The server hovered, unsure whether to cut the cake. She leaned toward her uncle as she passed. He smelled faintly of aftershave and paper. She kept her voice low enough that it felt like a confidence rather than a warning. "They never updated the fire clearance after the renovation," she said. "And the alcohol permit's still under the old occupancy number." He didn't react. He never did. He just nodded once, a subtle acknowledgement of receipt. She walked out into the night air and felt, for the first time that evening, the full weight of her body again. She didn't cry. She took the bus home and went to bed early. The next days were quiet. Messages came in, first joking, then confused, then edged with irritation. She didn't respond. Silence had a shape, and she let it hold. She went to work. She paid bills. She fixed a leaky tap. Life continued in the way it always had when she stopped explaining herself to people determined not to hear. 2 weeks later, the calls started early. It was her cousin first, then her mother, then a number she didn't recognize. She let them ring until the phone stopped vibrating on the table. When she checked the voicemail later, the tone had changed completely. There was no laughter now. No jokes. Apparently, the restaurant, the one they'd chosen because her uncle had connections, had been shut down pending inspection. A routine review had become something else. A notice had been posted on the door. The manager was furious. Reservations were canceled. Money was being lost. The owner wanted to know who had tipped off the city. Her mother's voice shook on the third message. "Please call me. We need to talk. Your uncle is saying it's serious." It was serious. Authority, when it appeared, that didn't announce itself with drama. It arrived with paperwork and dates and consequences that could not be laughed away. She waited another day before responding. When she did, it was with a single line. "I'm okay. I hope everyone else is too." That was all. They wanted reassurance that she hadn't done anything. They wanted her to explain what she'd whispered, to clarify whether this was her fault, to smooth things over the way she always had. The old expectation tried to reassert itself, fix this, make it comfortable again. She didn't. She understood now. that leaving without explaining had been the explanation. The whisper had not been a threat, it had been a boundary. Information placed where it belonged. What happened after was not revenge. It was consequence, delayed and impersonal, the way systems worked when no one rushed to soften their edges. She thought about calling her uncle. She imagined his careful voice, the way he would neither accuse nor absolve her. In the end, she didn't call. Some conversations were designed to restore old balances she no longer wanted. The restaurant reopened weeks later, after inspections and fines and new permits. The family never quite returned to the easy cruelty of that night. Jokes were tested before being told. Invitations came with disclaimers. Something had shifted, quietly, undeniably. She felt the loss of it sometimes, the warmth that could have been, the ease she'd once hoped for. Power did not feel like triumph. It felt like space, when choosing when to sit down and when to stand. On her next birthday, she spent the evening alone, cooking a simple meal, lighting a single candle on a slice of cake she'd bought herself. She didn't write anything on it. She didn't need to.